Jews. Okay, welcome everyone. We're just waiting a few more minutes for people to join this this Facebook Live event. First of all, I hope everyone is doing very well, and that we will be able to share a few ideas that will be helpful for you to understand a bit better what we're talking about. Okay, so what we're going to do, as people will be joining gradually, let's see, people will be joining gradually, and some of you are going to be watching replays. So for those who are watching replays, I want to be mindful of your time and make sure that we make the most of it. Good morning. I see that people are beginning to join. So today, or rather this week, we are going to be talking about toxic people and narcissists. It's part of 4 weeks of thematic work we're doing with Just Be. Last week, we spoke about running a sustainable business. This week, it's about toxic people and narcissists. Next week, it will be about managing time, money, and energy better. And then the following week, it will be about how to navigate our lives. It's all of the coaching tools I use with my clients that will be condensed into a short presentation, 2 half-day workshops. So it's basically the best, most helpful ideas I found from different methods, put together, structured together to make sense of it all. In the meantime, what I'm also doing is taking individual sessions, coaching and healing sessions. So for those who don't know me, I'm Frederik Ribersson, Fred. I combine coaching techniques, mental coaching, how to think more clearly, with cosmo energy healing. Cosmo energy healing is similar to Reiki, but instead of having one channel, we have 65 channels. We use both approaches to help people unblock emotions, heal, feel better. It's working with the mental and the physical and the emotional. Anyway, that being said, why, when I'm doing this, will I be talking about toxic people and narcissists? I do it because most of us have known at least one toxic person, usually much more. It's about, I think they say 5 to 10% of the population can be classified as being toxic or narcissistic. I think 1% is psychopathic, which is really on the extreme. So why is this interesting? Well, if we have healthy boundaries, we meet these people and we keep away. If we don't have healthy boundaries, and we could debate if it's lucky or unlucky, but let's say it's unlucky because it's very unpleasant, these people find a way to break through any defenses we have, get into our life, and make our life absolute hell. And so why I say it might be a positive thing, depends what we make of it. It's highly unpleasant. However, it helps us identify weaknesses we have, places where we don't have healthy boundaries, places where we're afraid of the truth, where we're afraid of saying things as they are, we're afraid of standing up for ourselves. We're delegating the responsibility of our life to someone else. So if it's somebody who's well-meaning, then everything is fine. And if it's someone who is not well-meaning, then things become horrible. Hoping that someone is well-meaning, it might work, but the issue, more than the choice of the person, the issue is the process of the delegation itself. So the question, let's start with that, then I'll talk some more about it. The question that we were asking, and incidentally, if you have questions, I don't know to what extent you can actually post questions here when you're looking at the live. You might be able to just comment the live stream, in which case do that. And we'll be doing a live stream just afterwards on Instagram where it's easier to interact, okay? So the question was, how do you know if someone is toxic or a narcissist? I'm not a fan of throwing around labels to describe people. There are multiple reasons. One reason is that there's a risk that we end up debating the label. Is this person narcissist or not? So when I work with my clients, usually I say, well, if I say yes or no, what does it change for you? Does it change their behavior? Does it change your day-to-day life? We can argue about this, but it's a wrong trail. It's a red herring. It's something we look after because sometimes we want reassurance that we're not going crazy. However, if we can focus on facts and behaviors, they are there. We observe them. We can debate them. And regardless of the label we put, the behaviors are there. So I'll give you an example. Let's imagine, that's a metaphor I like using. Let's imagine that someone puts your hand on a burning frying pan. You feel pain. Knowing why the person did it, does that change your pain? Putting a label on the person's behavior, does it change your pain? If the person did it once, you could say it's a mistake. Maybe. I believe in usually giving second chances. So let's say a mistake. How do we know the person really regrets it, understands what happened, will take measures to prevent it happening again? If they don't, why would we assume that somebody who is putting a hand on a burning frying pan and seems to enjoy it to some extent, or enjoy the anguish or the attention or the energy or all of that, why would we assume that they're not going to do it again? It works for them. As long as it works for them, but their behavior doesn't work for us. Their behavior in our life is toxic. So what are we going to do about it? We can walk away. We can give them a second chance. But if they don't follow, if they don't seize the second chance, and they don't make changes, and they don't really see the problem, then, well, if we stay with them, we know what to expect. In my experience, unfortunately, extensive experience, one of the biggest issues is thinking, how can someone who professes to have feelings for me or be my friend not see a problem when I describe it so clearly? How can they lack so much empathy? I just didn't get it. And of course, the answer is they say they have the feelings, but they don't behave like they have the feelings. What I'm interested in is behavior, not narratives. The narratives we use can explain to some extent, but generally they are our attempt to make sense of something and explain something. Whatever the narrative, if my hand is on a burning frying pan, it doesn't change the pain. If I'm enjoying the pain, then I'll keep it there. If I'm not enjoying the pain, the question is, what will I do? There's one reason why we don't really like it, is because then it's about what we do. If you're familiar with toxic people and narcissists, you'll probably have seen a number of forums, typically on Facebook, where many people talk about my narc. I got multiple issues with that. First of all, there's a possessive, like it's a pet. But also when somebody is doing that, they're accepting that their life works for them. If their life works for them, then it's fine. They can knock themselves out. And they enjoy the attention, the drama, feeling like a victim. Whereas with a hand on a burning frying pan, it just is like, what do you want? If you want to remove your hand, is staying with somebody who holds your hand down on a burning frying pan, does that really seem like a good strategy for you to stop feeling pain? Or maybe just enjoy feeling the pain. That's fine. So back to knowing if someone is toxic or a narcissist. Like I said, I don't enjoy putting the labels, but I look at the behaviors. I'd argue that there are multiple behaviors that can be qualified as toxic. To me, the question is, most of us will exhibit multiple of these behaviors at one point in time. We can think of the number of behaviors and the intensity of the behaviors, okay? If we exhibit occasionally some of the behaviors at a small level, and when we realize it, we change our behavior, so next time it happens less intensely, less frequently, and we learn, then that's fine. That's just being a human being. That's normal. So somebody puts you out on a burning frying pan, you point it out, and the person goes, "Oh my goodness, I didn't realize. I'm sorry. Let me work out what happened so it doesn't happen again." Okay, and then I'll give you a tip about also how to apologize, as that can be relevant. If somebody on a regular basis, so frequently, exhibits behaviors with small levels of toxicity, and who determines that? You do. If it's unpleasant for you, it's toxic for you. Simple as that. If they do it frequently on a small level, that is not very sustainable for a relationship. It's not very healthy because it's frequent, so you can't really relax, and there's always some small level of drama. If they do it infrequently on a high level of toxicity, that's really horrible. So it doesn't happen often, but when it happens, it's really, really miserable. And we often try to understand, how can somebody who professes to be this way and usually is this way do this? Well, it's sort of irrelevant how they do it. Like if you meet someone who's amazing and enjoys drowning kittens, you don't care whether they're amazing half the time. It's like the worst behavior is the lowest baseline. Someone who drowns kittens is someone who drowns kittens. I don't care what they do the rest of the time. They're capable of drowning kittens. Somebody who enjoys, I don't know, who's a mass murderer, you can say, well, they only murdered a person once. Yeah, still, they murdered someone once. So unless they come up with a really good explanation of what happened and what they did to heal and prevent it, well, you don't know if it's going to happen again. So like I said before, if it happens once, we can give someone a second chance. If it happens on a regular basis, if it's frequent, then that's a problem. And when people exhibit highly toxic behaviors very frequently, that's an absolute nightmare. If you're listening and watching, you've possibly been in that situation. You know what it's like. So if this is the case, I don't care about the label. This is someone objectively who frequently exhibits high levels of toxic behavior. They lie. They can't say sorry. They blame you. Nothing is ever their fault. They complain and complain and complain. And when you find a solution, they're not interested in the solution, or they find ways where it won't work. They make their problems your problems. You might be familiar with all of this. They start the relationship. They start it too quickly. They want to get close too quickly. They want to move in with you too quickly, or they want you to move in with them too quickly. They want control over your life. They want control over your money, over your friends. They criticize people. They criticize you. All of these things. And, it's important to think not binary. It's like, does the person criticize me or not? It can be, what kind of criticism is it? If you are, let's say you're a cook, or you like cooking, you do a dish, and the person says, this is really nice. I'd have put a little bit less salt on the fish because the fish is already salty. It's like, well, that can be fair. The intention depends. Is the intention to knock you down? Is it consistent with past patterns? Such as a person who says, listen, I told you, I'm not a fan of salty food, and you see it. I don't put salt on my food. But if the person does weird things, such as telling you to put less salt, but then eats very salty food or adds salt to the food, or the next time says, well, you didn't put enough, then you're stuck. And that can be really disorientating, which is the whole point, is they want to put themselves as being a judge. So if they say, well, that's it's my taste, but probably it works for you, then it's being relative. In their case, they often want to position themselves as being a judge, as being someone who knows, and they'll do the things of saying, you shouldn't have spoken that way. They'll hit any kind of level of confidence to try to knock the other person down. So again, the intention is important, the frequency is important, and if you tell the person, listen, we were in front of my friends and you criticized me in a way that just doesn't work for me. I don't understand what happened, but that is not going to be, happening again. Or, you put down a healthy boundary, you see how the person reacts. If the person is able to admit some level of blame, then toxicity probably is medium, low, or it's just normal. We all make mistakes. But usually when we make a mistake, where we can be horrified by the mistake we made, which is not really healthy because we make mistakes, so whatever. But just say, okay, point taken, I didn't see it that way, but all right. I'll be careful next time. If they find it impossible, or it's always saying, well, I only did that because you did that, or, but you did that before. You criticized me in front of my friends before. And it always becomes a fight. Then the only question is, do you enjoy this? If you enjoy that type of relationship, knock yourself out. Just keep doing it until you're bored of it. It's like if you have your hand on a burning frying pan and you're enjoying it, keep doing it. It's your hand. I don't care. As long as you enjoy it, keep doing it. However, to stop, it's important to understand the dynamic that led you there, to these problems, that led you to this relationship, why the dynamics of the relationship are a problem, because otherwise you can always think, but the person might have a point. With the toxic behaviors, they do not have a point. They do not have a point. It's toxic. That behavior is not acceptable in a healthy relationship. You make the mistake, you apologize, you don't do it again. If it's recurrent, then it's part of a pattern. And yeah, so you put down healthy boundaries, trust yourself. That's really important. Don't delegate the responsibility of deciding if something makes sense or not to someone else. You can ask for their point of view, their opinion. They don't know better than you do. I don't know better than you do. Whenever I talk about something, I share the ideas that I find helpful, and you decide if it's relevant for you or not. If it is, that's good. If it isn't, that's fine. Okay, we can have a conversation about it. You can challenge my points of view, which is wonderful. And you challenge the points of view. Either I argue convincingly, which is good, and then you learn something, or it's not convincing, and maybe you convince me. That's absolutely fine. It's healthy. We're equals. We're equals. We're both adults. We come with different levels of experience. We're both adults, and we share the ideas. Anyone who is claiming to have better knowledge than you, or claiming to be a reference person you go to who has the knowledge, is creating a relationship of power. And the relationship of power that we might be accepting, that's exactly what toxic relationships are a symptom of. They're just a symptom of poor boundaries, or poorly enforced boundaries, or lack of self-confidence, or issues that we haven't solved, or, for instance, fear of admitting the truth, or trapped emotions. That's one thing that I work on. Having emotions trapped inside the body. Someone excites this emotion. Exciting the emotion might be something to the extent of telling you something you don't want to hear, telling something that really scares you, and seeing how you react. It can be, let's take an example, someone who says, I was abused as a child. So that's pretty heavy. So I understand people. I mean, that was my case when someone told that to me. He says, listen, I don't know if I can handle it. That was years ago. I don't know if I can handle it. I don't really want to know, because this really wakes up some of the darkest things I can imagine. And I don't think I'm qualified. I don't think it's my role. I don't think this will be helpful for the relationship. So I don't really want to know. And then, possibly because I put down a boundary, which is debatable. Is it healthy? Is it not healthy? Should I view things differently? But for me, in a relationship, you put down a boundary, you can discuss the boundary, but you don't trespass. So what, of course, I got was a lot of trespassing, little bits of information. Sometimes, and this was amazing. This shows you how perverse they are. One time it was actually a lot of information, accompanied by the statement, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And I found out later that it was not the tip of the iceberg. It was the worst part of it, exaggerated. It's like, but you said it was the tip of the iceberg, which means that the rest is multiple times worse than what you said. And the answer I got was, oh, well, I think I didn't understand the expression properly. It's like, how does that make sense? I mean, you claim to speak English well enough, and it seems to be the case. It's like, this is not a linguistic question. Or does it mean that you use random expressions all the time without understanding what they mean? But of course, the point was maximum impact, which worked, maximum impact, and then cover your tracks whichever way. So how do you know if someone is toxic or a narcissist? Well, forget about the label, look at the behaviors, and just say, and this is all you need, does it work for me or not? If it does work for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, what would it change if we agreed that the person was subjectively the narcissist or checked all the boxes. It's always subjective because there's no universal international scale that's recognized, and even the international scales like the what's it called there's one about the psychopath test. Even with the psychopath test, it's subjective. It's subjective. It's a list of subjective criteria, and at one point when you go through it, you go, well, you know, a few of them, anyone can have a few of them to some extent. Somebody who has a lot of them all the time, that gets pretty scary. That's a lot. Same thing here. The list of behaviors that I've noticed is subjective. It seems that it covers a significant part of the behaviors. It's subjective. And the question is, does it work for you? If it does, cool. If it doesn't, then what are you going to do about it? And the label doesn't change anything. If we establish that a person has, so I've got a list of 16 of 25 behaviors. If a person has 16, does it really change much compared to having 17 or 15 or 18 or 14? Maybe. There's rarely one tipping point where before that it's fine and afterwards it gets bad. Usually it starts, things are good and they get worse and worse and worse. And at one point they're unbearable. Knowing where the limit is, it's not self-evident because the limit can sort of, you know, how should I put it? We, as humans, we are more sensitive to absolutes than we are to change. So if things change a little bit, we sort of brush it off. It's like the water's a little bit colder than before. It's like the joke about how do you boil a frog? Is you heat the water gradually so the frog doesn't notice it's getting warmer until it boils and it's too late. Whereas if you turn up the water too quickly, the frog jumps out. So here it's roughly the same thing. So anyway, that was the short live for today. We'll be having another session this evening at 6 p.m. Dubai time, 4 p.m. European time. And we will be sharing a few more of these ideas. Let me check something very quickly. And yeah, exactly. It's going to be 3 more things that you must know to understand toxic people and narcissists. And then it will be having a workshop that's divided into 2 parts. One part will be on Wednesday evening. The other part, Saturday morning. In this workshop, we'll be covering most of the red flags of toxic people. We will be covering how to leave the relationship, how to heal from the relationship, how to prevent more toxic relationships in the future, and basically how to use it in order to level up, in order to improve, in order to be stronger, healthier, love ourselves more, respect ourselves more. And yeah, there we go. So thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, reach out to Just Be, and you can. I don't use social media very much these days, but you can reach out also on social media. My user is Ribersson. I use that on Instagram, and Facebook, and Twitter that I've been neglecting a little bit. I've mainly been active on Instagram and my website. So there we go. This week, workshop on toxic people. If you need any help with healing, so the workshop will help you understand a number of things. This is what I run through with my clients most of the time when we talk about toxicity. If you need any help with healing, I also do that with individual sessions, and using Cosmo energy to heal is unbelievably effective because it helps remove the trapped emotions that were usually what they were pushing at in order to manipulate us. So yeah, we have individual sessions going too. And in the workshop, it's the healing, how to overcome, how to avoid it coming in the future. And then, yeah, there we go. So thank you very much for joining. And we will, if you're interested, actually, we will do another live right now on Instagram. On Instagram, it can be more interactive, which will be fun. So you can ask me questions and then I can comment. Okay. Have a great day. I hope I will be seeing you soon. And yeah, thank you.